Once you hear these things, something inside you will change. This isn't because the mistakes are greatly surprising, but because you will finally see the ways you've been acting your whole life without even realizing it. And starting today, you will not be able to stop seeing them. Not in your own behavior, not in her reactions, and not in the way you live as a man. These are the 9 errors smart men make with women, and the quiet wisdom behind each one. If you listen until the very end, you will not be the same man who started this message. Let's begin. 1. Talking too much to explain yourself. Smart men often mix up being clear with making a statement of guilt. They think being honest means telling about every delay, every thought, and every feeling the moment it shows up. But that is not clear communication. It is feeling unsure, covered up by good manners. A wise man speaks only once, not to show off, not to make excuses, and not to prove he is harmless. He speaks because he has something important to say. His voice is calm, steady, and certain. A man whose words have power doesn't need to repeat them. When you over-explain, you show the very thing you are trying to hide. I am worried you will judge me wrongly. I need you to think of me in a certain way. I need your approval. But the moment you want approval, you lose your strong presence. You lose your certainty. You lose the quiet power that makes a man reliable. This is because approval is something you get through good character, not something you run after with long explanations. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius understood this best. He said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That is the core of a man's calm strength. If your actions are pure and your intentions are firm, you don't need to make up long stories to excuse them. The truth stands by itself. Say what needs to be said just once with belief, and move away from the desire to add more. People respect the man who trusts his own words because he trusts himself. The world listens more closely to the man who doesn't rush to explain, who doesn't get worried when misunderstood, who doesn't change his voice just to be accepted. Speak less, mean more. Let your actions show what your explanations never could. 2. Running after instead of guiding. Running after someone is not the same as putting in effort. Chasing is panic disguised as action. It's the desperate run after someone who hasn't taken even one step toward you. It's the silent sound of feeling unsure coming through in every text you send, every call you make, every moment you wait for a reply that might never arrive. You can pursue. Pursuit is thoughtful, purposeful, and balanced. It is a man moving with a clear direction, led by his goal, knowing the energy he puts in, and patient for that energy to return. Pursuit is a sign of being grown up. Running after, on the other hand, is a mess in motion. It's how a man acts when he is lost from himself. A man who thinks movement is the same as moving forward. A wise man is never lost from himself. He acts based on his intention, not fear, from confidence, not a desperate need. He understands that energy is like a mirror. What you give is what comes back. And if the energy is not shared, he steps back. He does this not with anger or bitterness, but with strong self-respect. He does not need to change himself, beg, or twist himself to fit into someone else's way of doing things. He knows the truth that most men do not want to see. What is meant to grow will grow naturally. It will succeed without force, without worry, and without desperate tries to pull it forward. Running after is the opposite of this. Chasing changes what is real. It makes you believe that your worth is tied to someone else's attention. It teaches you to accept very little when the big opportunity of your potential is waiting somewhere else. A wise man lets things happen naturally. He puts in effort only when there is balance, when things are shared, when respect and true presence happen without effort. This is because a real connection does not need convincing. It does not beg. It does not run after. It arrives easily, like the ocean tide that comes back without question. And the man who truly understands this never chases again. He saves his energy. He guards his peace. He moves through the world with a quiet power. And in that stillness, he becomes very appealing. Not because he needs her, and not because he fears loss, but because he knows his own value. And here is the strange truth. The less you run after, the more you are sought. The less you panic, the more you are valued. The less you change yourself, the stronger your presence becomes. A man who runs after is controlled by his desire. A man who pursues with quiet wisdom is free. 3. Showing too much too fast. Deepness pulls people in. It is captivating. It demands attention without needing to shout. But sharing too much is the quiet thing that kills attraction. It changes interest into pressure, fascination into discomfort, and real curiosity into an obligation. Many men make the mistake of thinking that being open means telling every single detail of their life within days. The first week becomes a flood of stories about growing up, past mistakes, hopes, worries, and feelings that are not finished. They believe that sharing everything quickly makes them easier to relate to, trustworthy, or desirable. The opposite happens. They use up the space that was meant for a strong connection. They change the mystery into something easy to guess, and interest into tiredness. True closeness is not a speech given by one person. It is a slow dance, a rhythm, a carefully timed exchange. It is earned through patience, being consistent, and being truly present, not rushed, not thrown out, and not demanded. A wise man knows this naturally. He shows himself slowly, with intention and dignity. Every word, every story, and every detail is put down like a solid piece in the structure of trust and attraction. He does not pour out his whole heart and mind in one meeting. He does not hand over his emotional power for approval. He lets others earn their way into the private parts of his mind and heart. The less you show at once, the more your truth matters. The more careful you are about what you share, the more importance it carries. People are drawn to what feels special, careful, and valuable. Deepness without pressure is appealing. Deepness with patience is impossible to resist. Mystery is not about tricks. It is not a game to control or confuse. Mystery is the sign of self-respect. It shows that you value yourself enough to control what is shared and what is kept back. It says without words, I am steady, I am whole, I am not yours to use up. A man who shares too much gives away his power. A man who moves with measured revealing commands presence. He does not fear silence. He does not rush trust. He does not look for approval by telling secrets. The world often confuses being open with being truly honest about feelings. But real honesty about feelings is done on purpose. It is the courage to show only what is important, the strength to stay quiet when the noise is tempting, and the wisdom to let interest build instead of fear forcing a reveal. When a wise man shows himself slowly, he sets a level. He teaches others how to value him, and by doing so, he changes a normal meeting into something rare, memorable, and magnetic. Mystery is not a shield to hide behind. It is the protection of a man who knows his value. It is the quiet power that says, I am completely present. I offer myself fully, but only to those who earn it. Deepness is attractive. Mystery is magnetic, and the patient showing of truth is the invisible force that makes the ordinary man different from the extraordinary one. 4. Trying to fix her. Men with good hearts often fall into the same trap. They see difficulty, pain, and a mess, and their first thought is to jump in, to fix, to repair, and to save. It feels noble. It feels necessary. It feels like love. But deep down, it is often fear pretending to be care. Fear of losing. Fear of feeling like they have no power. Fear of not being important. The wise philosophers had it right. Focus on what you can control. You cannot carry the burden of someone else's journey. You cannot heal a spirit that is not ready to be healed. You cannot straighten a path that she has not chosen to walk. Helping is not the same as saving. Listening is not the same as fixing. Being present is not the same as taking on the problem. You can offer steadiness, clarity, and calm. You can be a solid rock in the storm, but you cannot become the cause of the storm. A man who tries to save someone who has not chosen to save herself loses himself in the process. He gives up his peace for someone else's mess. He exchanges his purpose for the illusion of control. He gives away the power that belongs to him. Wisdom teaches the quiet skill of keeping some distance. This is not being uncaring or cold, but having good judgment. The wisdom to know the difference between what is yours to take care of and what is not. When a man steps in to heal what is not his to heal, he brings in a lack of balance, frustration, and eventual hurt. He gets caught in a trap of feeling responsible for her emotions, which was never his to carry. Instead, a wise man stays grounded. He listens with attention. He offers help without expecting anything back. He makes space for her without owning her problems. He allows her to go through her own difficult times. This is because strength is not measured by how much you can carry for someone else. Strength is measured by how firmly you stand, how calmly you look at things, and how carefully you choose to get involved. A man who knows his boundaries and protects his energy creates a strong presence. He becomes magnetic, not because he tries to control, but because he respects himself and others equally. And the strange result is simple. The more you let go of the need to rescue, the more respect and admiration you get. The more freedom you allow her, the more value she sees in your strength. Trying to save someone who does not want to be saved is not noble. It is self-destruction pretending to be devotion. A wise man loves with intention, supports without giving up his own life, and stands firmly in his own life because he knows this constant truth. You cannot walk her path for her, but you can walk yours perfectly. And by walking your path well, you become the kind of man others naturally want to be around. Strong, steady, whole, and real. 5. Forgetting your purpose. This is the quiet, hidden mistake that silently breaks everything a man has built. You meet someone. There's a spark, a connection, a feeling that takes your attention. And slowly, almost without noticing, your world begins to change. Your regular habits start to fade. The times you went to the gym that you never missed are now skipped. Your business, your studies, your skill. The mission you built with hard work and discipline loses its speed. The books you read, the ideas you chased, the work you put in with strong focus, it all starts to become unclear. It doesn't happen quickly. It is subtle, little by little, sneaky, until one day you realize you are no longer leading your own life. You are changing it to fit someone else's presence, someone else's pace, someone else's energy. No woman respects a man who gives up his own life. This is not because she is mean or uncaring, but because she naturally feels an imbalance. She knows when a man's energy is no longer connected to his goal. She knows when his inner fire gets dimmer, when his direction changes, when he starts to move around her instead of moving forward. Respect, real, lasting respect, cannot survive when you forget your mission. Purpose is what holds you. Without it, you drift away. Without it, things that take your attention sweep you away. Without it, you are no longer a man with a clear direction. You are a man controlled by outside events, moods, and the need for external approval. A wise man understands this clearly. He knows that his life is sacred. His goals cannot be changed. His mission is untouchable. He protects it with the same strength that he protects his peace. He does not allow someone else's presence to make his decision weaker. He does not trade his progress to chase approval, affection, or short-term attention. This is because the man who keeps his purpose is whole. He is magnetic. He commands respect easily. He moves through the world with clarity and stability. And when he shares his life with someone, he does so without giving up, without surrendering, without being pulled away from his true path. The strange twist is deep. The more tied you are to your mission, the more attractive you become, the stronger, the more admired, the more grounded, and the more powerful your presence. Purpose is not optional. It is the strong support of respect, the foundation of freedom, the gravity that keeps a man steady in a confusing world. Lose it, and everything else falls apart. Protect it, and nothing, no opinion, no temptation, and no distraction can shake you. A wise man lives by this truth. He does not give up his mission for anyone, but when someone fits well with his path, he shares it fully, intentionally, and with depth. Because a man without purpose is invisible. A man with purpose is unforgettable. 6. Trying to get her attention by competing. When you rush to be better than others, to fight for her attention, to show your worth with jokes, actions, or forced charm, you are quietly speaking a truth you might not even tell yourself. I am afraid I am not good enough. Yet this fear is unnecessary. Because here is the secret most men never learn. Presence always wins over a performance. Stillness always wins over noise. Confidence always wins over competition. A man who is grounded does not need to perform for approval. He does not make his actions or words sound bigger to get short-term attention. He does not measure his worth by looks, smiles, or how people react. He moves through the world as a man who already knows his value. Let her interact freely. Let her laugh with others. Let her speak, joke, and move through life as she wishes. This is because your worth does not get smaller when her eyes look somewhere else. Her attention is not a prize to fight for. It is a reflection of your already strong presence, not something you must earn through struggle or a big show. Chasing approval shows weakness. Getting worried when distracted shows that you feel unsure. But the man who remains steady, who does not worry, who does not try too hard, and who does not panic, has already won. Notice how the strongest men do not shout to be seen. They do not change themselves, twist, or compete for recognition. They simply exist, steady, calm, and firm. And in that quiet power, others notice. It is magnetic. It is certain. It is the kind of presence that draws respect, admiration, and attention without effort. The simple fact is that the less you chase, the more you are sought. The less you perform, the more you are valued. The less you change yourself, the stronger your presence becomes. Do not confuse noise with power. Do not confuse trying too hard with real strength. A man who commands without demanding, who stands without worry, and who trusts in his own value is the man who cannot be shaken by distraction, moved by being compared to others, or made smaller by short-term attention. Your energy has limits. Your peace is valuable. Do not waste either by competing for approval that was never yours to earn. Stand still. Observe. Reply only when you must. Let the world show its different sides. Let others chase shadows if they want to. You, the grounded man, do not chase. You do not rush. You do not change yourself. You lead with your presence, not your actions. You command with your stillness, not your noise. You win without needing to prove anything, because the man who does not worry has already won, not in the world's eyes, not in short-term attention, but in the eyes of life itself, calm, steady, unshakable, and fully in control. 7. Making her the reason for your happiness. If your whole emotional world is focused on her, if your happiness goes up and down with her mood, if your peace relies on her being there, then you are building your life on sand. One strong wind, one change, one absence, and everything falls apart. Your emotions, your stability, your confidence all become unstable, all controlled by someone else. A wise man understands this clearly. He knows that real strength comes from inside himself, not from another person's approval or attention. He builds inner stability through discipline, purpose, solitude, and peace. He creates habits that hold him steady. He puts effort into goals that define him. He sharpens his mind, takes care of his body, and protects his own space. Happiness is not borrowed. It cannot be loaned or given. It is built bit by bit, moment by moment, through careful choices and a strong focus on self-mastery. When you stop depending on someone to make you whole, something amazing happens. You stop chasing. You stop performing. You stop changing your value to fit someone else's hopes, and in that freedom, you become magnetic, not desperate, not needy, not overly reactive, but irresistibly complete. A man who is complete does not worry when her attention drifts. He does not panic when she laughs with others, talks to someone else, or spends time apart. He knows his worth is not decided by approval, short-term presence, or changing feelings. It is connected to his own life, his own mission, his own purpose. Completeness creates gravity. It pulls people in naturally, easily, like metal pulled to a magnet. It demands respect without having to ask for it. It commands presence without needing a performance. It brings out desire without desperation. The irony of life is simple yet deep. The more emotionally self-sufficient you are, the more captivating you become. Owe your thoughts personally. Stay calm, stay grounded, stay strong, stay.